Hi, this is James from Triathlon Coaching UK. I just wanted to talk about the threshold bike test that many of you guys will have coming up in your program, certainly at some stage. Now, what you do in this session is typically a warm-up of around 20 to 30 minutes to make sure you're thoroughly prepared. You then go into a 20-minute interval where the aim is to work at your maximum sustainable intensity for that 20 minutes. This is followed by a cool down of around about 5 to 10 minutes to flush the lactic acid out of your legs. Now, when you perform this test, one of the things that we want you to record is your average heart rate. This is your functional threshold heart rate. So that's your average for that 20-minute interval. And this is something which is a little bit more meaningful when we come to set your heart rate zones. Initially, your heart rate zones may be based around your maximum heart rate or an estimated maximum heart rate. But actually what your maximum heart rate is might not be all that important. What is a little bit more important is what percentage of that or what heart rate you're able to sustain at threshold. The other thing which would ideally like to be able to record, if you have access to a power meter, is what your average power was for that 20 minutes. And what this enables us to do is establish your functional threshold power, which is essentially what the power output that you'd be able to maintain over 60 minutes if you were to be working as hard as you can. But instead of getting you to do the test over 60 minutes, we get you to do it for 20 minutes and we deduct 5% from that. Okay, and then we can also use that information to set your power zones and also, where relevant, set you some specific power outputs to work to within certain sessions. Okay, now these heart rate zones and these power zones are only as good as how well you executed the test. So, it's important that you do it as well as possible. Now, if it's your first time, it can be very difficult to pace a 20-minute interval. It's important to be conservative to begin with. So don't start too hard, because if you blow up after 5 minutes, you have to cut the test short and we can't really use that information. So my advice would be start conservative for the first 5 minutes and look to build from there. Again, when you get to 10 minutes, evaluate how you're feeling. If you feel you can ramp it up a little bit more, then do so. Okay, so look to build over. Whilst the goal is to work as hard as you possibly can over that 20 minutes, you do need to look to build it a little bit in 5-minute stages if it's your first attempt. If you've done the test before, what you can do is look back at your previous results. So if you were able to hold 260 watts last time you did the test, then start at 260 watts and look to build from there. Okay. The other thing to consider is which bike you're going to be performing the test on. So it can be difficult to do out on the road because you need to find a stretch of road where you can work consistently hard for 20 minutes. So, you've got to think about trying to find somewhere fairly flat or up a slight incline where there's going to be minimal traffic, minimal junctions, not always easy to do. Okay. In the off season, it might be better to perform this test on your turbo trainer or on a watt bike anyway, because that may be where you're doing most of your interval work. Okay, so when you come to do the test, remember, enjoy it. Not only will it be useful in terms of setting up your training zones, but it will also provide you with a really good training effect.